Welcome back to Mix Workshop. So in this video, we are going to be continuing the build of the table saw alignment tool. And in the last video, we ended up where I had just cut out the semicircle that you see here with the hole saw. And now we're going to get busy attempting to use the boring head and finish that up. So thanks for watching.
All right, got the boring head set up. I think right now where it's at, it should just take a light skim pass. I'll try to keep my arms out of the way. Oh, and I'm going to use the dial to feed it down. I'm not using any coolant right now because I just want to see what it does. I think this is like the second time I've ever even had this boring head in the mill. It's mostly cutting over here. It's actually quite a big cut there, so I'm going to pull it in just a little bit until we get that cleaned up. Pull it out just a little more. I think the hole's a little tapered. It's starting to get a little rough. Alright, pardon my head. I want to take a look here and see how this is looking. Yep, it's only cutting right here. I'm going to take not quite as deep a cut this time, just go 7.5. Alright, of course things were going too smoothly, or so it appeared. Let me show you what's going on here, what happened here, and then figure out how I'm going to fix it. I still have material to be removed. I checked with the actual part that's going to go in here. So let me zoom out so you can see better. So here's where we are. The problem I was running into was my clamping, my fixturing. So as this boring bar went down and hit the bottom, it was creating a big burr down here that just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what happened, I noticed, is that the blocks were moving away from the 1, 2, 3 blocks and the pins that I have back here. So I think what I need to do, yeah, I need to think about what I need to do. I don't know what I need to do yet. I'll come back when I do. Alright, so I had a little mishap. Luckily nothing crashed. I caught it before it got to that. What was happening was, as the boring bar was getting down to the bottom of this piece and I had it resting on a solid piece of aluminum, it was pushing a big burr down. And eventually that burr, it started to lift up this face of the part, and there was a gap forming underneath the part and the aluminum block I had there, and it was pulling it this way slightly. So I've got it clamped in 3 places now. I've got the clamps, 2 clamps on the back, and I've got a clamp over here on the front to keep that from lifting. Ow! Got a metal splinter. And the other thing I did is I took out the solid aluminum blocks and I just put in a couple parallels, I'll call them. They're close enough, so that I've got clear access. Let's see if you can see that. So that, yeah, so that there's no way it's going to build up there. It's open underneath. So, and because of all of that movement, my hole is not exactly in the right place, or even circular or semicircular right now. It's got all sorts of funky geometry going on. So what I did was I aligned it with this. I didn't move the boring bar, the head, the boring bar. I didn't adjust it since the last cut I was taking. So I've got it lined up with this edge, but when I try to spin it over, it pretty soon catches. So, and on this back side, yeah, it's got quite a bit. So, which makes sense with the lines that are drawn, which are nearly impossible to see anymore. This one is pretty much gone. In fact, I think it was already gone because I allowed a 1/4 inch here, and I think that's less than a 1/4 inch, which is not important. It's just arbitrary. So what I'm going to do is and I did verify that the part does not fit in here yet. It's still not big enough. So I'm going to pull the boring bar back in until it just barely touches on this side, take a skim pass down through, and see. I need to check it at the bottom too, because I think it's tapered now. So I'll check all those things out, align the boring bar, adjust the boring bar, and yeah, start over, or not over, but continue and see if we can get this cleaned up. And hopefully things don't move around this time. So, lesson learned. Alright, I'm going to get this boring head adjusted, and then when I'm ready to start machining, we'll be back. Alright, so I've got it set up, and looks like it's taking an okay cut on that one spar side, so just try it again. Alright, at least that part worked. Went all the way through. Alright, let's do another test fit. See if there's room there. Should be, yep, there is. Okay, still does not fit. So, let's go through the process. All right, that is it. I have a slight little blemish down here on the bottom on the back side, but that's the way it's going to be. I cannot get that cleaned up. This is the right size now, so I'm going to deburr it and move on to the next steps. Alright, so I'm getting ready to drill the hole approximately here for the dial indicator shaft to go through. Excuse me, and in order to do that, I need to find the center of the circle, or of this part of the circle. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to try this, I'm not sure how it's going to work, is to use the edge finder barely engaged on the edge up here. So let's see how that goes. that seemed to go okay. Oh, I don't know how much longer my DRO is going to last. This dang X button is not responding very well. There we go. Now go to the other side. Oops, gotta make it wiggle a little bit. There we go. So, according to that, center is there. And that looks right. Okay. I will consider that a success. Oops. I need to, so I've got DRO centered there. I need to get the edge here. So I can set the depth back. Okay, set RY, make sure that's repeated. So the hole for this needs to be 9.5 millimeters. So I'm going to drill it out to 9 millimeters and then ream it to 9.5. Now the next thing I need to do is measure this gap right here, because that is the maximum distance this hole can be from the edge, and I need to leave a little bit of room so that it's not too tight, so that the dial spins. So I'm going to go look through my toolbox and see what I have that I might be able to measure that with. Alright, according to my calculations, I want the center of the hole down here from this face to be 0.247. Alright, that's where she's going. Alright, there's my problem. I forgot to take into account the 0.1 or 0.2 diameter of the edge finder. So this is still salvageable. Alright, so let's go back now. It is 0.27 from the edge, but the edge has to be in the right place. So let's go back to 0. Make sure that that is truly 0. No, it won't be. So I need to go in 100. 0.1. Sorry. And that should be right on the edge. Yes. Now, zero out my y-axis and dial in 0.247. And there we are. Now, that looks better. Now a 9mm drill. Still looks iffy to me, but let's see how it looks once I get it in the chuck. Well, we know it's close, so all right, reamer. And there we go. Has a very nice fit. Plenty of room for the ring. You can see that tiny little gap there. Awesome. Man, I am pleased. I've made a few mistakes, but I think I've managed to catch all of them in time to fix it. So next, I need to drill a hole for a set screw that's going to be very lightly tightened here. And then I need to go tap this one and these two. And then somehow I keep getting scratches on this, like this one here. I don't know where these are coming from, so I'm going to see if I can polish this up, get rid of those scratches. And then it's time to glue everything and put it together. Or start anyway. Only other thing I think I need to do is I need to make the knob oh yeah, I gotta tap this hole too. All four of those holes are the same. But I need to make the knob for that to tighten down onto the shaft, and then same here, clean it up, glue it, press in my ball bearing, spring-loaded ball bearing things. And that leaves probably one of the more complicated things of the whole project as far as work holding goes. I need to make a new back for this. I believe I do anyway. Let's see. Here's the original one. And yes, it sticks out beyond there. So I need to make a new back. I have some material that's about that thickness. The problem that I'm trying to resolve now is how to hold it, to cut it to size, and to drill those holes and to counterbore for those holes. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the super glue solution. I'm going to super glue it to a sacrificial block. Use either the boring head, or if I have a hole saw the right size, we'll see. I should be able to trepan it with the boring head, because I want a taper on that edge anyway, so that would be nice. And then yeah, hopefully that'll work. Alright, just like with the stainless steel rod that I did earlier. I'm going to use progressively finer grits of sandpaper, or abrasive, and clean up as much as I can of the marks and stuff that got on these pieces. I guess that's another lesson I need to take into account when I'm making things like this, is that if they're intended to look pretty, be very careful with them. Like, I don't know how these little dings got in there. So I've taped it to a piece of glass. I realize I'm not going to take off all of the milling marks or anything like that, but let's just see how it goes. Unfortunately, it's a face that is going to be seen all the time. That has most of the damage. Yeah. Still got some marks, but overall that looks pretty decent. Alright, now see if we're going to be able to do anything about this. Okay, I got the pieces polished up as good as they're going to get on the deburring wheel. Now I'm going to clean and prep them for bluing. It's just these two parts that are being blued. The first thing I'm going to do is just use some degreaser and get the big gunk off. Alright, now we'll go to the cleaner step. Alright, I've got a rather long piece of brass here chucked up, and I know this is not ideal, but we're going to give it a shot because I don't have much brass left and I don't really feel like cutting this off and then ending up with a small short piece left that has no use. So using my bump tool, let's see if we can get this aligned. Okay. Now, oh, I need to think about this. I'll be back. Alright, as you can see, I bit the bullet and cut a short piece off. I was trying to machine it with all that stick out here, and as you can see, the surface finish is terrible. I was getting too much vibration. So I just have to accept the fact that there's a certain amount of waste that goes into these projects. So now I'm going to re-square or reface this end and then finish cutting this down. I'm cutting to 1 inch. The total knob depth, including the threads, is going to be 0.65, but I need to leave extra room for knurling and for parting off and then flipping it around and refacing to get a nice smooth finish on the top of the knob that's visible to everybody. So, zero out my Z-axis. Might as well zero out the X. And let's face this off again. All right. Butter. Much better. Okay, now let's see what that size is and set the DRO. And then we'll take it down to 1 1/4 inches, which is the diameter of the knob itself. 1.68. Negative 1.68. Okay. Now I can take bigger cuts and still get a decent finish. And this thing won't take all day. All right. Now I need to take the depth into a 1/4 inch. Sorry, I forgot to turn the camera on while I was threading and knurling this. But I think you guys have seen me do that before. So, started parting it off. I'm just going to chamfer these edges. That looks nice. I don't even need to chamfer that one yet because that face is going to get, I don't know why I didn't, yeah. Mixing up my order of operations here. I left enough for when I'm cutting it off that I'm going to flip it around and face that off again. Duh. Whoa! Huh, didn't see that. Alright, try this again. Oh, it's hitting. Alright, let's see here. Okay, we are nearing the end. So it's time for finishing. I gave the rod here and the knob a good polish. So they're looking good. See what we got here. After I cleaned these up, they've just been sitting on these microfiber towels wrapped up in them, so they should still be clean. my favorite bluing compound, Brownell's Oxbow Blue. As I understand it, what this stuff does is actually oxidize the surface, and then the oil penetrates into the oxidized layer and protects it from rusting. But what that means is that when you transfer back and forth with, in this case, my foam brush, I'm transferring into this, and you'll see this stuff build up in the bottom of it. That's why I pour it out into another container. Alrighty, go rinse these off, oil them. All right, well there it is, with the exception of the new back I need to make for the dial indicator, and I need to press these little ball, spring-loaded balls in. And I've got a case for it that I'll cut some Kaizen foam to fit. Oops. But I'm pretty pleased with that. That should be able to align a table saw with some degree of accuracy. All right, I'll get these balls pressed in, and then next I guess we'll see about making the back for this and cutting the foam for the case.
Alrighty, well thanks for watching, and I think I'm just going to do another video about the back of the dial indicator. I learned quite a few things in that, so hopefully some of you folks out there will see what I screwed up and learn from my mistakes. But I don't have time in this video for that. So thanks again for watching. Please subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and take care. Bye.